You'd been watching it for 3 weeks. Every morning, the same blue tit, flying to the nest box on the garden wall, pausing at the entrance, slipping inside for a few seconds, and then flying away again. You assumed it was undecided. You assumed it was weighing up the options, perhaps comparing your box to somewhere else in the neighborhood. Perhaps it would choose. Perhaps it wouldn't. Here is what you didn't know. It made its decision on the first morning it came. Everything you watched after that, every visit, every inspection, every moment it disappeared inside and reappeared, was not deliberation. It was preparation. Welcome to Garden Bird Secrets. If you're new here, subscribe. Because what you're about to learn will change every morning you spend in your garden. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 5 things that are happening in your nest box that most garden owners never know about. We'll look at the science of how blue tits actually make this decision, who makes it and when, what they're building inside and why, and we'll end with something that will change how you think about every nest box that's ever been in your garden. Stay until the end, because the final point is the one most people find hardest to believe. For centuries in the English countryside, a small tit nesting at your home, what country people called the tom tit, was considered a quiet form of endorsement. Not superstition, observation. People who worked outdoors understood that these birds did not settle in troubled or careless places. If the tom tit had chosen your wall, your outbuilding, your hedge, the place was, in some way, right. This is something British people have felt for centuries. Now we have language for why. Let's begin with the moment itself, the moment this video is named for, because it happens much faster than anyone expects. A blue tit assessing a nest box is not browsing, it is running a checklist. The entrance hole diameter, precisely 25 millimeters for a blue tit, not a millimeter more, is examined on approach. The aspect of the box, the height from the ground, the temperature inside, the clearance in front of the entrance, every one of these is registered in a single visit. Research from the BTO's Nest Record Scheme, which has documented over 70,000 British nest attempts, shows that female blue tits do not, as a rule, return to inspect a second box once the first has cleared assessment. In your garden, this means the following. That first morning when the blue tit arrived and went inside and came back out, that was the assessment. That was the decision. You were watching a bird that had already committed. The visits that followed were not uncertainty. They were the beginning of something else entirely. But that decision didn't happen in your garden alone. Before that blue tit ever came to your fence post, it had already been watching somewhere else entirely. And what it saw there had everything to do with whether it came to you at all. There is a phenomenon researchers call public information use. It means that cavity nesting birds, blue tits among them, observe the breeding success of other individuals in the surrounding area before choosing their own site. A study published in Science by Dolliges and colleagues documented this precisely. Cavity nesters monitor nest sites within approximately 150 meters of their own position. If a box in that radius produced a successful clutch the previous year, chicks fledged, parents returned, that information is factored into the assessment of nearby sites. A garden adjacent to a successful blue tit nest is measurably more likely to attract a new pair the following spring. In your garden, this means your box's reputation extends beyond your fence. If blue tits have nested successfully nearby, in a neighbor's box, in a gap in a garden wall down the road, your box benefits from that proximity. You are part of a network you've never seen. If you've ever stood in your garden and felt genuinely watched, you were not imagining it. Stay with me, because this next part changes everything. There is one more thing you need to know about that decision. You've seen the box being visited. You've assumed you know which bird is doing the choosing. You are almost certainly wrong. In blue tit pairs, the male identifies candidate sites and presents them. He will fly in and out of a box repeatedly, calling, displaying, signaling that this is worth considering. You may have watched this and thought, that's the bird choosing. It isn't. Research by Grieco and colleagues, published in Behavioral Ecology, documented what actually happens. The female makes a solo inspection, typically very early in the morning, often before the male arrives, and she alone decides. She can, and sometimes does, reject a box the male has spent days presenting. The decision is hers. If you've ever noticed a small blue tit, slightly paler, slightly more compact than the one you usually see, arriving at the box alone, at first light, disappearing inside for 15 or 20 seconds, and then departing without any display, you were watching the female. And that was the verdict. In your garden, this means the moment you almost certainly missed was the one that mattered most. The verdict has been delivered. The box is chosen. Now something begins inside it, quietly, without any signal you would notice, that I want to take you through carefully. Because what the blue tit does next is not what most people imagine. Between the decision and the first egg, there is a period of approximately 14 to 21 days in which the blue tit is building. Not randomly, precisely. Nest material in blue tit boxes follows a documented sequence: a base of moss, gathered in quantity, packed carefully. Intermediate layers of dry grass, plant fiber, bark fragments. And then, in the final days before laying, the finishing layer: feathers, animal hair, fine, soft material gathered from the immediate environment. The BTO's analysis of over 70,000 British nests records this lining layer in consistent detail. White feathers are strongly preferred. The color may aid thermoregulation around the eggs. And the source of the hair? In UK gardens, the most commonly recorded material is domestic: dog hair, cat hair, fibers from garden furniture, from the mat outside the back door. In your garden, this means the nest your blue tit builds is assembled from your garden. The final layer, the one the eggs will rest against, is made from material that has passed through your hands, your routines, your daily life. You have contributed to it without knowing. The nest is built, the eggs are laid. Everything I've described has led to this moment. But there is one thing that began before all of it. Before the nest, before the female's visit, before the first morning you ever saw that blue tit at your entrance. It begins inside the egg. Research on cavity nesting birds, including work by Klenova and colleagues published in Ethology, has documented something that changes how you think about the nest box you put up in your garden. Blue tit embryos begin responding to sound from approximately the 9th day of incubation, not after hatching. Inside the egg, in the dark, days before they break through the shell, they are listening. They are learning the sound of their mother's voice, the sound of the space around them, the acoustic texture of the place they are about to be born into. The soundscape of a nest box in a British garden includes your voice, the sound of your footsteps on the path, the back door, the particular way your garden sounds at 8 in the morning, the birds you don't notice, the distant traffic, the specific quality of a May morning in your part of the country. Those sounds are being recorded, not consciously, not in any way we would call memory, but encoded as the baseline for what safety sounds like, what home sounds like. And when those chicks fledge, when they leave your nest box for the first time and navigate their way into the world, they carry that acoustic signature with them. When they come, in time, to choose a nest site of their own, they will be drawn, in ways science is only beginning to understand, towards sounds and environments that match the one they were formed in. The tom tit that chose your garden didn't simply nest there. It imprinted your garden onto a generation. If there is a blue tit in your nest box right now, or if there has ever been, I want to hear about it. What did the moment of arrival look like? Did you catch that first solo visit? Did you hear the chicks before you saw them? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. These are the stories I carry with me longest. I'll see you in the garden.